Welcome students. In this class we will be learning about access modifiers. Now you will have to know what exactly is access modifier. So let me define this. Now access modifiers are used to restrict the access of class resources. Now, how do they do that? So they achieve this by declaring them to be as private, protected, and public. And of all the three, the moment I say public, it means it's accessible. The resources are accessible outside the class. But the minute I use the word private, then those resources are only accessible inside the class. Now the best way to understand access modifiers is through an example. So that is exactly what I'm going to do. So I'm going to show you the difference between declaring a variable private and declaring it public, and I'm also will be going a step ahead by showing you what is the difference between a public method and a private method in this particular lesson. So let's get started. So foremost we need a class. So I'm going to say class employees. So this is my class. Now foremost what I'm going to do is I'm going to give the init method. So init underscore self is there. Now in this init method I am going to declare two important variables. Say is equal to input. Please enter the employee name. I'm going to copy this and then I will paste this up, and then I will say employer or employee. So this should be actually employee number. Please input employee number. Now there is one more thing I want to also put in. So input employee salary, right? So please enter employee salary. So there are three inputs that we are taking in. Now of the three, if I were to run it, if at the moment I create the object, let me show you, is equal to this is created. Now if I were to run it, and you will see that we have got a prompt. It is asking us to give the name. I'm going to say Jack, employee number 1201, and a salary probably 3000. So this is acceptable. So this is how the program behaves when the object is instantiated. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the object to access the details of the employee. So let me do that. I will give a print here. Print. I will use the object, and then I will access the employee name. And similarly, what I will do is I will copy this and I will paste this. Okay. Now what you have to understand is when the employee is created, this method would immediately get fired. So there is no need for this method to be called because it is init, and I already mentioned to you it functions in the capacity of a constructor. So that means when the object is created, or in other words instantiated, the method gets fired. So the object has got no role in firing the method. So that is very critical to understand. The only thing is that we create the object. When the object is created, the method is fired. That's it. Focus the attention on the class employees. The resources of this particular class employees is this particular method. Now, using the object, what exactly I'm doing? I'm trying to use all of these resources. Now, there are no restrictions for these variables. These variables, each one of them, employee name, employee number, employee salary, are all called as public variables. It means they can be always accessed outside the method. That is exactly what we are seeing. If I were to run it, and if I were to start by giving the input, after this information is fed into the application, the object instantiated comes into play and accesses all of these resources. What you see here is what the object has accessed from the method. So the object is able to know the name of the employee, his number, and his salary. So of course the last one is a little bit a private matter. You should understand that people don't like to discuss their salaries outside. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make slight modification in the employee salary, because the first three things, when you're designing an application, all of the information which you see in the method, init method, will come from the employer, and these things, instantiation of the object, will come from the HR department. So there is a lot of security features that are involved in protecting the applications. And not only that, if you put this application to be accessible to other employees, then there is also another security issue coming in. So people should not be able to access each other's salary. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to declare the employee salary as private. Now with this employee salary being declared as private, I'm going to run this program. Now you will see a vast difference. So you can clearly see that there is something being highlighted by the IDE, by PyCharm, and it means we need to be a little bit watchful. But anyway, I'm going ahead with the program. I am going to give the name. Now you can clearly see the first object is able to access the name of the employee. The object is able to access the number of the employee, but when it comes to accessing the salary, the program throws an exception. So this is exactly what it means by declaring a variable as private. No one can access this variable outside this method. As I mentioned to you, access modifier are used to restrict the access of class resources. So this resource cannot be accessed by an object which is actually outside, it is lying outside the method. Now the question comes, how are we to access it? If we are to access this particular variable, how are we to access it? A protocol has to be followed to access this. Now I can access this employee salary by means of another method. So how am I going to do that? I'm going to say def employee salary, and I'm going to declare it, and inside this I'm going to be accessing the employee salary. So I can call the employee salary from this particular method, and probably I can assign it. So what I can do is I can simply say print, and I can say self dot underscore underscore. You can go over here, copy the variable and place it here. So I'm accessing this information which is private in this particular method through another method. So how are we going to utilize that now? Now in this case, what I need to do is I cannot directly place in that private variable. What I'm going to do, I'm going to use this object employee and I'm going to call the method. This is one way. So let me just copy it and paste it. So I'm copying it and I will paste it here. So now the method is accessed through this object. So let us run the program and check it out. So name of the employee Jack, employee number 1201, salary 3000. So now you can clearly see we are successful in getting the name, the number and the salary. So in the next class we will see how to access a method which is declared to be as private. Now we have got this two methods here, and what I'm going to do in the first method, I'm going to declare one more variable. I'm going to say self dot underscore employee, and that is equal to input. Please enter the employee age, and I will follow it up with one more variable. I'll say self dot underscore underscore employee bank details, bank account. So this is equal to input. Please enter the account info. Right, so I have declared the employee salary, employee's age, employee bank account, all of them as private variables. In this lesson I'm going to show you how we can declare a method private and how exactly we can access it. So I'm going to start off by declaring another method, employee private information, private data. Let me just declare this method as private. So all of these private informations are present in the private method. Now the question is, how are we going to access this? Now if I were to access it, now let me just run it and show it to you how it works. I'm not calling this method at all. I'm just going to run the program and just show to you where do we exactly stand. So I'm running it. It says enter the employee name Jack, number 1201, salary $3,000. So please enter the employee age, say 21, and account information, say 100100112, and this is what we are getting. Now the question comes is, I'm going to show to you if in case we try to access this method, what happens. So I'm just going to copy that and I'm going to call that method here, employee dot. Now clearly you can see in the list private method doesn't feature here, but yet I'm just going to go a step further in calling the method. So let me run it. Already there is a possibility, or the environment already indicates that it's not going to work out, but I want to show to you what happens if we were to try to access a method which is private. So I'm running it, and let me show you the output. Okay, the first few lines, they get executed because of the constructor. So Jack 1201, salary 3000, employee age 21, account information 1000, 1201. You see that? There is immediately an exception. Clearly it says no attribute. The object has no attribute. Now the question comes, how are we to access this method? How to get it? It's simple. We can access this method through a public method. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. So I'm just going to go over here and I'm going to say self dot underscore underscore. I'm going to call the method. So this is the private method that is actually called from a public method. Now, so this has to be taken out. I have to take this off. Let me run it and show to you what exactly happens. So I'm running it, and I got Jack there, employee number 1201, salary 3000, and then employee age 21, employee account information 100201. So now in this lesson we have successfully accessed the private variable and the private method. So this is how we achieve